You do a lot of good opening stuff. You're an opening guy. But if you listen to what you're saying, and like yesterday, the word choke came out of your mouth, and I got very upset at that.
Yeah.
And it basically made me think about the Knicks all day yesterday, thinking about the franchise, thinking about the history, thinking about being a fan of
Somehow
the franchise.
I doubt
No, it did.
All day long?
And the reason for that is because if you're a Knicks fan, it's always hard. It's always hard. Like there was Michael Jordan, that he made it hard. There was Reggie Miller, he made it hard. There was Hakeem Olajuwon, he made it hard.
Sure.
It was always hard. It was always, we're going to beat you up because we don't have the best shooters. We're going to be the toughest defensive team you play against. But at the end of the day, we're just not going to have that guy that's going to be able to win that game. And you may think of it in the world of the choke. I don't see it that way. I just see it that our team always, when it does win, has to play its ass off on defense, has to give great effort, and that's what this group of Knicks has done. And it has also added Derrick Rose, who has found the fountain of youth. And he found Emmanuel quickly in the draft. Obi Toppin's playing a little bit more, but he still doesn't look like, he should have been that high of a pick. They have like bits, pieces, older guys like Taj Gibsons and Nerlens Noel that have been revelations. They've lost a number of players. We know all of that. So it's always hard for the Knicks. It always is. And, I didn't appreciate the choke thing yesterday. And I was going to start with the Rangers and the coaching and all that other stuff. But what I didn't appreciate today is you saying that the Knicks backed into the playoffs by the fact that the Celtics lost. You said, you would have loved to have had them do it themselves. Hey, by the way, their record is what it is because of what they have done themselves.
You're totally misunderstanding me.
Wait a minute
You're
now.
totally misunderstanding
Let me finish. You said you would have liked to have had
Finish
the
misrepresenting what I've said.
No, you said that you would have liked to have had the Knicks do it themselves.
I did. I would have liked to have them. Yeah, I would have.
Well, they have done it themselves. They're the ones that have the 38-31 record. Nobody else does. It's not their fault that Boston's falling apart and they're 500.
Once again, you're taking one little thing that I'm saying and going on and on about it.
No, it's you have to understand. And this goes like I wasn't going to start with this morning because I just said to myself yesterday, you were overly distraught over the loss against the Lakers.
Can I explain instead of you just continuing to go on a point that I haven't even said?
We have 4 hours. You said that you would have liked
can I
for the
just
Knicks
explain myself
to
so
secure their own playoff spot.
Can I just explain myself so you can
But is
stop
that what
going
you
on
said?
What I think you and every other Knicks fan would have preferred them to win that Laker game because that would have been a very cool moment. We talked about it going into it. Yeah, we talked about it going in. It's great that this was going to happen, and it did, that they clinched the playoff spot. Every Knicks fan was fired up for that Laker game, and that would have been a cooler moment than, clinching it, staying up, Knicks, Lakers, the whole thing. It would be. So that is not disputable. And it doesn't mean because I'm asking for these things or asking for them to win a big game out on the West Coast that I'm diminishing anything that they've done this year. But I wanted them to win that game and clinch that spot. I thought they had an opportunity to do it. They didn't. So here, I don't want you to keep saying that I'm diminishing what they've done this year. That's not what I'm doing.
Well, you said in other words, it sounded like you said they backed in because Boston lost.
Never said that.
Well, you just said
I wanted them to win that Laker game and clinch that way.
So they clinched the playoffs. All right, so they clinched the playoffs.
Never said backed in.
So I know you didn't say it. But that was
But you're going to continue to say that I say it.
No, I won't say that anymore. I'm just saying that's how I heard it. But that's how I heard it.
That's not my fault.
But that's how I heard it.
Start listening.
And I'm sure. No, I listened to you. Believe me.
I didn't say backed in.
No, nobody does. I'm telling you, nobody does a morning radio show opening better than you do. And then I've learned over the years to listen to you because I know you got a jab in there somewhere. You got some little slap across the head. I mean, whether you even at the end of that little opening, you were saying, "Oh, and we're going to be able to talk hockey." Milwaukee. You know, like that was a little backhanded slap.
Oh,
too.
as soon as I saw that coach getting fired, I was like, oh God, here we go again.
No, here we go again. Right,
three straight days we opened with the Rangers. I got to do it again.
No, we didn't. See, I didn't want to do that.
That's what Al thought too. It's what Eddie thought.
You all thought wrong.
We all thought it. I was like, oh
you all
God.
thought wrong.
We had a boomerless group text yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure
going,
you did.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I'm kidding. None of that happened.
Oh, okay. No, even if it did happen, I don't really care.
It didn't
but I just want to say this.
Yeah.
That the Knicks still have a very good shot of taking care of their business and putting pressures on other teams and getting to a higher seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now they have to take care of business at home. And it starts with the Spurs tonight, who lost to the Kyrie Irving-less Nets last night. So it was his night to take a night off. I know he got hit in the face the other day, so he got to rest and they got to take it easy. You know, most hockey players would probably get it, whatever, and get back out there. So, but it doesn't matter because James Harden was there last night. And James Harden played 26 minutes and he barely missed a shot. And he doesn't look like he lost a step.
It's insane. I mean, he'd been gone for a while, so you sort of forgot about what he meant to that team when he was here and leading them. I mean, just some of the passes last night. I mean, that pass to Bruce Brown, I don't even know how he saw him, where he goes above his head and that long bounce pass.
You know what?
He's just like a virtuoso.
He's got basketball IQ, God. Especially the three top guys all have it and just it overflows. That's why they're three of the best players in the league. And that's why, look, if that guy's healthy, they're going to go all the way to the conference final against the Knicks. So we'll see. Yeah. But according to you. So anyway,
I can't win
about
with my Knicks opinion with you. If I'm positive, you get on me.
No,
if I want more, you get on me.
At the end of the day, for us as Knicks fans, it's just hard. It's always a hard kind of like road travel to get where we'd like to see them get to. And there's always going to be some disappointment along the way, especially when they're a good team. And they're good. They were a good team in the 90s. It was hard under Van Gundy. It was hard under Riley. And it's now hard under Thibodeau. It's like the same feeling where you really love the team and you like the energy and you love the effort and you love the fact that your superstar is buying into playing defense like Patrick Ewing did. And now you have, Julius Randle doing that. Or, so you know that it's all there for you, but you also know that there's a team over here in Brooklyn that's got three superstars. You got the Lakers that's got superstars. You got, Philadelphia's got superstars. It's Milwaukee's got superstars. It's like our group is always going to be like, for whatever reason, like one step below, and it's just a rock fight every time we get on the basketball court.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel the same way. I've been wanting that 4 seed and home court advantage for them this entire time. It's still attainable, but I always felt like it probably wasn't going to end up that way because it was going to be harder for them. So, and I wanted to avoid Miami, but maybe they won't. I just, at this point, I believe, I do, and nothing that I said yesterday or this morning changes that. I do believe in this team, and I do believe that they can win around, and then who knows from there where they can go. So hopefully the matchup doesn't matter that much. But you're right. Whatever the path is going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a difficult one. And oh, by the way, if you look around, they're starting to get hurt. Did you see that Knicks PR tweet yesterday that made my stomach turn?
Yes.
They just snuck that out there in the middle of the day. It was like, Derrick Rose, ankle, questionable. I was like, oh, come on. You got to be kidding me with this. Just goes to your point about how everything is difficult.
It's always hard.
Here we go. Reggie Bullock, sprained left ankle. Alec Burks, contused left knee. Emmanuel Quickly, sprained left ankle. Derrick Rose, sprained left ankle. All questionable for tomorrow's game against San Antonio. A lot of those guys we knew about, but Bullock and Derrick Rose thrown in there with Burks and Quickly. That's the last thing you wanted to see.
Yeah, it's not good. See, this is the thing. You want to finish your season strong. You have 3 home games here. You win those 3 home games. You put pressure on Miami. You put pressure on Atlanta to have to win their games. And, Atlanta wins again last night, and so they knock off the Wizards 2 games in a row, which has not been easy for anybody in this league, but they do it. And, look, it's hard. It's also, I also was thinking the same thing about the New York Rangers. They haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1994. But, man, it's a pain in the ass. Ever since Ovi and Crosby have gotten into the league, it's just been a grind. It's always a freaking grind. And there's always a team that seems like they come out of nowhere, like Tampa has come out of nowhere. They draft Victor Hedman, next thing you know, they're running roughshod over everybody in the Eastern Conference. And you see like what's going on in Carolina, you see what's going on down in Florida, and you're saying to yourself, what the hell's my team been doing? And how hard it is to actually sustain championship level roster and still be young enough to have a future. And that's where the Rangers are now. And I have to say this about Chris Drury yesterday. Yesterday had to be an excruciating day for him.
Oh yeah,
it had to be an excruciating day for him. For people who don't know, he fires a guy who was the head coach at Boston University. That's where he played as a player. Well before I think it was well before obviously Quinn was there as a coach. But that's a common thread right there. And Chris was a big part of David Quinn leaving Boston University and coming here to coach the young Rangers and to turn around a culture that had been built, I believe, by John Tortorella originally. When Tortorella finally took over the Rangers, he taught the Rangers how to play defensive hockey, how to block shots, and he was lucky. He had an all-world goalie, but he also had guys that Ryan Callahan and Derek Stepan and Ryan McDonough and Dan Girardi and Mark Stahl and that group of players that would just run through a wall for the guy to win hockey games. And that's why they were in the playoffs all those years. As much as I personally would love Tortorella back, because I think it would be unbelievably entertaining for all of us as media people and as for Ranger fans, and we know exactly what we're getting. I don't know if Chris Drury can do that. And now, Chris Drury was his captain when Tortorella was the initial coach here, and Drury was still here. He was his captain for 3 years. Tortorella might have been the reason that Chris Drury retired with bad knees. I don't know. He might have told him, look, you can't do this anymore. You need to retire. Who knows what that relationship is. And I know that Dolan loves John Tortorella.
It's
I know
Dolan
he loves
and
him.
Sather more than anything.
Yeah, but
in
it's
this
Chris.
situation.
I feel that way too. I feel like there's definitely impact by Glenn Sather going on here. There's no question about that. But I do believe a lot of this is going to be Chris Drury's call. And, everywhere Chris has been, he's been an amazing success. And he's a very thoughtful guy. He doesn't promote himself. He's not a self-promoter at all. He's been a loyal soldier to Jeff Gorton and to John Davidson when he got here. And now it's his turn. And he knows exactly what the owner wants. And the owner wants a tough team, because I'm telling you, April 20th was the stinging game against the Islanders that led to two shutouts against the Islanders, and then ultimately Panarin getting ragdolled by Tom Wilson on his own ice and nobody doing anything about it. And the message has been sent, as Ryan Strome said. I personally would love Tortorella. I think it would be great. I'm sure there are other Ranger fans out there that don't want to see that, and that's fine. It could be this guy, Gerard Gallant, who was the guy that has had success in this league, is supposed to be more player-friendly and understanding as opposed to Tortorella. But either way, yesterday had to be just an excruciating day for Chris. And then now he has to turn the page, and he has to do his due diligence on getting the right guy in here that's going to be the right fit for the older guys, as well as a guy that's going to bring toughness to this team. That to me is the number one thing that is missing on this team. And maybe it was missing because Trouba got hurt, Lindgren got hurt, and Kreider got hurt. And those are three of your more physical guys on the ice. But there has to be a bottom half of the offensive roster, the forward lines, that has to be rebuilt in the eyes of the way the game is being played, especially when you're playing in the Eastern Conference and especially when you get ready to go to the playoffs. So I think that's going to be a big issue for whoever the next coach is.
And it's not just the mentality of the coach that's going to make the roster tougher. It's also going to be the players on the roster, and that's why.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's like the bottom six.
Yeah.
Well, it's the bottom six thing, and you got to figure out, okay, who's going to be in the top six? Kakko's got to be up there. You got to put Lafreniere up there. Kravtsov has probably got to be up there. So then who's in their way? Like, is Buchnevich in their way? Is Kreider in their way? Do they move these guys? I think Kreider has a no-move clause, so I think, if you put him on the third line and keep him on the power play, he's fine. But to me, it's got to be the coach. And the coach has got to be able to communicate, touch the place, much like Rob Saleh is doing with the Jets right now, much like Joe Judge did with the Giants last year. I think ownership right now in those two situations are very happy with who they have as coaches running their organizations. And that's where Chris Drury finds himself right now. Gerard Gallant is not going to be great with the media, and he's not going to be great getting the message out to the fans. That's not his that's not what he's all about. That's Tortorella. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And Tortorella immediately, Ranger fans know what we're getting, and he's a presence, and he would sell tickets. I don't give a damn what anyway. If it's about selling tickets and getting to the playoffs, that son gun will do it.
Well, it's more about getting to the playoffs and competing for a championship and a Stanley Cup again. That's what it's about.
But it's also making your team relevant in a different way, which is obviously you could do that with Tortorella. But then again, if you're Chris Drury and this is your first hire, do you trust a guy that can go half-cocked on you in the middle of a press conference in the middle of the season and start bitching and complaining and start sitting down some of your best players?
If you hire him, you know what the guy is at this point. Yeah, he's not going to change.
He actually did a pretty good job in Columbus. I mean, a lot of people will say that they had a lot of good players that wanted out of there because of him, and that's true. I mean, you know why? Because he's a hard charging, takes no prisoners attitude, which I kind of like. He told me when he was here with the Rangers that one of his favorite coaches was Bill Cowher.
Really?
Yeah, so he sees himself in that regard, and he's a no-nonsense coach, and he's all in hockey, by the way.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.